You made me remember what the game is about. It really looked like you had a lot of fun out there with your friends.
You can only master the art of yoga if you... The third yoga pose is called the tree pose.
Yes, hello?
It's me, my darling.
Are you back? I don't recognize the number. Your gift will treat babies recovering from severe malnutrition, help young girls pursue their dreams of an education.
Amira can't wait for the festivities to begin. But when a flyer on the fridge catches her eye, Amira's stomach goes cold.
What if something bad happens to you? People like you, they get bullied!
Only his eyes retain their vampiric glow. Whatever this was in front of him, it scared him. Remember, Naturelings, the scout to finish first earns the tent badge. Very impressive, Scout Gupta. You just earned the tent badge. Because I am your wife, you think I must put up with your cuffs and kicks? Let us not be found making scenes like this.
You always imagined the family you'd have. And now that vision is a reality.
We all deserve the chance to live healthy lives, to grow to our full potential, to see our families and communities thrive.
Children can't wait. Give now at unicefusa.org/laugh.
All right. The reel that you just saw and heard is from a multi-talented, I don't even know where to begin. So of course, she does voiceover, and we're going to get into that. But what you don't know is she is a hell of a jazz singer. I should know because I have her CD. And one of my good friends, we don't get to see each other a lot, and I was so glad that she said yes, that she wanted to be on the show. And I'm just going to stop right there and get into it. We have Nazia, and I always get your last name messed up. So if I say it wrong, it's okay because you'll correct me.
I'll forgive you.
Chaudhry?
Chaudhry.
See,
Chaudhry.
I got it right. Y'all heard what she said. Anyway,
in
Naz is
fact,
on the show.
We say Chaudhry.
Chaudhry. Makes it
in
sound
Texas.
fancy.
We say Chaudhry.
Oh, in Texas.
Nazia
Hey,
Chaudhry.
is you that Nazia Chaudhry?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Your barbecue's
Is
ready,
I.
ma'am. But she is here. How are you, love?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me. Such an honor.
Oh, come on now. We have known each other for quite a long time. And,
Yeah.
one of the reasons I enjoy doing this podcast is uh to get people to not only introduce themselves to folks that may not know you, but it also gives me an opportunity to kind of catch up with people. That maybe we don't call and talk all the time, but at least now for this one moment in time we get to talk and catch up and all that good stuff. So I'm so glad to have you on.
Mhm.
Um so first things first, and I touched on it right before we began. Um, while many may know you as an accomplished uh, voice actor, um, music, and if I'm wrong, correct me, is your first love.
It
Uh,
is.
how was it that you happened upon music even before we even get into the VO part? Being
Mhm.
someone that loves music, also I sing and all that type of stuff. But how did music, um, fill up your heartstrings? How'd you get into music?
My mom was a driving force, is a driving force still in my career. Um, she put me and my siblings, there are 3 of us, or sorry, 4 of us, but 3 other siblings. She put all of us in violin and piano,
Hmm.
and her idea was if she couldn't do music when she was growing up, because she grew up in a conservative Muslim home, that her kids were going to get into the arts and do music and art and do all those kinds of things. And there we were playing violin, all 4 of us. um, doing art. We had painting classes, art classes. Literally, we took uh, basket weaving class.
Wow.
They really do exist. It's not just a joke. Um, so yeah, I mean, we started in music, and from there, I you know had a passion for it, and it was always there for me.
Mm.
I used it as an outlet. My parents are divorced now, but when they were having problems, I think music was a way for me to express myself and just get away from it all. Um, I discovered opera singing when I was like 10ish, 11ish.
Wow.
Um, and from there, I told my mom, I said, "Mom, I want to do other stuff." There was a clarinet teacher, there was a um, piano teacher. So I was just like, fill up all the lesson spots because there were four of us in the 30-minute, or sorry, 1 hour each, 1 hour each session. I could not study like my brother and sisters. They could study while we were, in lessons, or like listen, while we were sitting waiting for lessons. But I just couldn't. I couldn't focus. So I was like, "Mom, just put me in lessons. Whoever's there, I wanna do it." I said, "But not the opera teacher. I don't wanna do opera, but I do wanna learn singing."
Okay.
And then, my mom was like, "No, no, just try. You never know." And I was like, "Mom, I don't know. I love musical theater. I love, like, pop singing and stuff like that, jazz singing, but I don't know about opera." But I had a knack for it, and the teacher encouraged me, and that was that. I was singing opera and, playing violin. Those were my 2 main things, and then, everything else was sort of on the side. S
So I gotta ask, how many instruments can you play
Oh, can I
or
play
still
now?
play? Yeah.
I would say I play arranger's piano because I love to arrange music, um, but, now not as much. I played violin from age 5 to, like, 19. Um, until it was, until, like, the first year and a half of college. Then I
Hmm.
decided to switch to the opera department and just continue on. When I first got to college, my dad said, "Whatever you do, don't do music." And I'm just like, "Oh my god, that's, like, been our whole life. What do you
That's
mean?
all you right.
That's all we've been doing. That's all you wanted us to do and encouraged us to do." Um, so I entered school in the beginning. I went to University of Miami, um,
Okay, I
in
did not know that.
Florida.
You were
Yes.
Kane. Oh,
Yes,
wow.
Canes. Um, so I went to UM, and I didn't at first I went for a scholarship, but I didn't at first, enter their music department. I did go there because they had an amazing music school. Um
Yes, they have for years,
Yes,
that's true.
yes, but I kind of was like, "Okay, fine. If I can't be a musician, I will interview musicians." So I, entered into the broadcast journalism division, with a double major in international studies.
Wow.
And then finally, a couple of years later, I was like, "Okay." I did a minor. I was doing my minor in music, and I was like, my people are in music. I just gotta move to that department, and I gotta follow what I'm passionate about, you know? Whatever happens, happens. So, I started studying opera from there. I had to make that decision, violin, opera, and I was like, opera, that's it."
Yeah, I think, one thing about anything that you pursue, there will be folks that'll say, well, maybe you should try this, and maybe you should try this. But the heart wants what the heart wants. And
That's true.
you made a decision and said, nah, I hear what you're saying, but I'm feeling something a little different, and I gotta go and go where my cup can be filled, so to speak.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
kudos to you for that. You know, um, just a quick tidbit. School of Music at the University of Miami has produced some great talent. Um, I'm blown away because I'm from Miami. So when you said
I
that, I'm like,
didn't know that!
yeah,
How did I not have any idea? I know you posted something about Canes, like the hurricanes, and I was like, "Oh, okay, he's a fan."
Yeah,
But
no, I yes, I'm a fan, but no, I was
you
born and
live
raised in it.
there.
Yeah, that is home, for me, so I was just like, "Wait, she did what?" That's crazy. But, yeah, I did not personally go to the school, but as far as, football and anyone from Miami, well, not anyone, because some people, for whatever reason, choose to like Florida State, and I don't understand that. But, for most of us who live in Miami, it's a Canes thing, just for sure. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that is real cool.
Mhm.
Um, so once you got into school, so now you're doing opera. And speaking of, what's your highest octave? What is your
Um,
range?
what would you say? I'm a lyric soprano, um, but I also do mezzo stuff. So mezzo stuff I do more in the jazz realm. Lyric soprano stuff I do for like now jingles, whoever needs opera singing for jingles, which is funny because I did do a Burger King jingle, what's that? BK Have It Your Way,
Mhm.
but make it opera. That's what they wanted.
Really?
Do the BK
Wow.
jingle, but make it opera. And I was like,
Chicken,
okay.
chicken, chicken, chicken. Don't have me go there. I'll leave that
I
to
have yet
pros
to
like
hear
you.
it. I want to hear what it sounds like
So
so bad.
so this is somewhere in the universe running right now. We gotta find that.
Somewhere out there. We need to
We
find it. There's so much stuff that my husband's like, I never hear your stuff." And I was like, "I know." Like, he goes, "Are you even like, you say you do voiceover, but
like,
I don't hear your
you
stuff once
do
in a
this for a
while."
living, right? But I don't see anything.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so folks, if you're watching, let's find that operatic, "Have It Your Way, You Rule," because we need to hear that
I
for
do
show.
need to hear the whole thing, like, with the music bed and everything. I wanna know.
That's insane. Um,
Mhm.
so you're doing opera, and we'll assume you're doing well because, you are who you are, and you always excel. When did the jazz bug hit you? Because opera is very opera is like math. It's exact.
Yes. Yes.
Jazz is like a mosquito. It's all over the place. You know, improvisation. So how does one go from being regimented, you know, to let me just scat real quick and get all shooby doo wop on you. Like how did that happen?
Well, I've always had an interest in, more contemporary styles. Uh, and when I was in the opera program, you weren't able like, I was already in the track, but I was singing professionally, when I started in college. Um, and I also joined a group called Jubilate, and we sang spirituals, we sang jazz music, we just sang the gamut, um, of different genres.
Mhm.
And we performed with Grammy award-winning musicians like Bobby McFerrin and
Wow.
Nestor Torres,
Mhm.
legendary actors and singers like Clifton Davis and Harry Belafonte. Um, it was a wonderful time in my career, and I was really inspired by that and, just all the different types of music, and the most contemporary type of music you could, s you know, learn in an academic setting would be jazz music, right? Um, more contemporary in the terms of, like, you could sing straight tones, and get away with it, not always have to have vibrato and, throughout. Musical theater is sort of like you could do straight tone and vibrato, but with jazz music, it was more about what you were singing. It was more about the lyric. Um, so I don't know. It kind of sparked my interest there, but I was too far into the program. The program I did in music was called Music Business and Entertainment Industries. Opera was the track that I was on because it was through the music school. And
Mhm.
that was the only way to sell it to my dad.
was like, "Dad, there's this music business program. I could minor in marketing, and we have music business classes. We learn about contracts and marketing yourself and stuff like that," which I think kind of translated. It's translated well as a performer in general, and yeah, I mean, that's how it started. But then 10 years later, I ended up. I think it was about 10 years in between my undergrad and my master's. And I did my master's at University of North Texas. I started my master's here, um, one of the best jazz schools in the country,
Mm.
most sought after jazz schools, and music schools in general. um, but I started off my master's here. Um, that was 10 years later, and then we ended up moving to Atlanta maybe 3 years into my master's program, which was so difficult, but I finished at, Georgia State University with my jazz studies degree in jazz voice. Yeah.
That is very interesting.
Mhm.
So you and let's now I think something I missed because you went to college first at UM in Miami and then you went to North Texas. Is your family originally from or they settled roots in Texas? Because how'd you go from Miami to Texas, or did you leave Texas and go to Miami and then go back to Texas?
I've lived all over the place. Let's see, I went to Miami, so I grew up in New Albany, Indiana, in the middle of nowhere. Um, and then I went to school in Miami, Florida. From school, I moved to Washington, DC to start my opera career.
Guess who else lived in DC?
Who? No! Are you kidding
Are you following me? Yeah, I lived
I
in DC for
am!
I lived in DC from 97 to like 2001.
I moved there in 2001, as soon as
See,
I finished my undergrad.
I was getting up out of there.
Mhm.
That's crazy.
We just missed each other.
I'm telling you, like, huh. Yeah, I used to speaking of a jazz city, um, and I don't know if you ever got the opportunity to sing at the Blue Note, or have
I
you ever been
didn't
to
I
oh,
did not. I did kind of, like, there was, like, some sort of it was like a contest or something, and
mhm,
I did get to perform there for that, but it wasn't necessarily, like, starring at the Blue Note,
got
you know?
you. Still, that place has so much history.
Yeah, yeah.
I saw years and years ago, Rochelle Farrell at the Blue Note.
Oh, I love Rochelle Farrell, oh my god. She's amazing live.
Powerful.
Yes.
Um, and she starts getting into those octaves that only dogs and cats can hear, and you're like, where does all of that come from?
Right?
Very talented musician. Okay, so we're putting the map together. So,
From DC to Dallas, that's where it was. I met my husband in DC.
oh, there you go.
I was supposed to go to New York, for my master's degree, and, my husband didn't believe me. I had my bags were packed, my boxes were packed in my place, and he came over and he's like, "Oh, so you're really going? Like, you're really" we weren't married at the time, we weren't engaged. So I was like, "You didn't put a ring on it?"
Uh-oh.
I was
No,
like,
she
"I'm
didn't.
going to get my
She gave him a
master's
choice,
degree."
like, "So listen, my flight leaves in 2 hours. What you trying to do?"
Right? We went to his sister's wedding shortly after, and he proposed in
Oh,
Jamaica.
really?
Yeah, at her
Yeah.
wedding, like, that she knew it was, like, privately he proposed. It wasn't, like, to steal her show or whatever,
Right, still her thunder, but just when you guys had a moment. That
Yeah,
is that's sweet.
yeah. Then I was like, "This better be good because I'm giving up my master's degree at university" was it, NYU?
Oh, man.
I had a scholarship to go to NYU, and I was like, "No, I'm going, bruh." That's
Like,
it.
hey, clock ticking, you got to make a decision. It's
I
either gonna be
know.
us or it's gonna be me in
Mm.
NYC, so you let me know what you wanna do.
Yeah, we knew each other for quite a while, and I was just like, "Okay, well, what are we doing here?"
Oh,
So, that was that, and then he said, "Okay, maybe when we move, you can, you know, pursue your master's degree." Um, and it happened to be in Dallas where I mean, Denton is not that far away,
mhm.
and that's just an amazing music school. So it actually worked out much better,
Still worked
and the cost was much better.
much, yeah, because everything in New York, just like
Oh,
in
man.
LA, you're gonna pay double than anywhere
Oh
else or
oh my
more.
gosh, I forgot about all that. Look at you
See?
bringing out all this stuff in
This is why we
everybody,
do the show.
right?
See, this folks, this is why I stay unscripted because I could just easily have a cue card. So tell me about this. When did this happen? No, we go deep.
You are going deep, like, that's
That's
deep in the memory
right.
bank.
See? Just pulling stuff out. So now we go and get our masters in music.
Mhm.
Um, what happens after that? Because of course we're going to get to VO. So now
Mhm.
that you got your masters in music, are you doing anything in the music business? Are you performing? Like what's setting you up for the next step after that?
Well, yeah, I started performing, a lot more, obviously. Um, in between all that before all that, I toured, internationally, nationally. I performed at the Kennedy Center, uh London Symphony Orchestra, with
Wow.
the Jazz Orchestra Atlanta, when we moved to Atlanta. So, I started to, do more performance, but at the same time, I was, doing a lot of on-camera acting and, voiceover. Because my voiceover career started when I moved to Washington, DC,
Oh,
kind of
okay.
while I was doing all the opera stuff, and I was doing musical theater, and I was doing stage plays, like legit theater.
Mhm.
Um, and amidst all that, it's so funny, I'm like, now you're bringing back some memories. Um,
That's what I do.
there was this, like, underground actors thing, we like, in DC, we, we worked with the police to do, um, to do trainings. They paid really well. They paid actors so well. You would work, and do those, like, hospital medical patient type of scenarios.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking
Um,
about.
yeah, we would work with, government agencies. I had my secret clearance at one point.
You know what? I had one too. It's the coolest thing when you get it. It's like, oh, so I can be around top secret stuff? Really? I mean, you
Yeah.
never saw anything, but just to
Yeah.
know that you had it for that brief moment in time
Yeah.
and, you could probably go somewhere and walk somewhere that maybe your friend who was in the lunchroom with you, "Well, I gotta go, I'm gonna be in here. I'll see
Right?
you later." It's top
Yeah.
secret stuff, and you never saw any of the stuff, but to
Yeah.
have clearance, it was a big deal. I get it.
Yeah, we were training people in counterterrorism techniques. I mean, it was like some cool stuff. So, in legal, we would go to like government agencies, legal counsel, and train them as actors. Like we would play scenarios. So
Oh,
I just
wow.
got my hands on all kinds of random stuff, and it was just like I said, it's this underground thing that all these actors would do, and they'd pay really well. So you could be a working actor. We did whatever I did whatever film came in town, whatever television show I would audition for. Um, but my on camera and my voiceover career kinda happened at the same time because I was interning for, an agency, a talent agency, and I started working with them as an assistant in casting, and
Oh,
I was
okay.
still doing my performance in the evenings, but, um, I was like, if nothing works out, I could still, like, be an agent or learn this whole agenting thing and behind the scenes stuff, and wow. Wow, you're really bringing back some stuff here. But yeah, that that sort of happened around the same time.
But that's good to know because I think you have a unique perspective, um, as a voice talent because you gotta start in an agency. So you got to see really what goes on behind the doors and what it takes to to go through the audition process and
Mhm.
saying, yeah, this person's good, but you know, she sounds a little better, or maybe his tone was better, and I didn't like how he didn't enunciate this word or that word. So you had a bird's eye view of that whole thing.
Mhm.
And I didn't know that your VO career started in DC. That is incredible. Because
Yeah.
when I met you, I believe you hadn't moved to Texas yet. You were still in Atlanta.
Well, see, this is the weird thing. So we left Dallas
Here we
to
go.
Atlanta, right? So now we're picking it up from the last question you had. We
Yeah,
left Dallas to Atlanta, for my husband's job, and I was so mad because I was like, "Oh my god, it's not like undergrad. Undergrad, you can transfer your credits. Grad school, they want you to have their credits."
right.
And I was like, "Oh, no, guys, we're coming from a top tier school, and I'm coming to GSU. You are gonna take these credits, at least a majority of them. And then I don't mind putting in a few years, but
Sure.
I'm not gonna start over." So anyway, I started at GSU there, and, um, it was Atlanta. We lived in Atlanta for about 7 years. I had my kids there, blah, 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 and then we came back. This is our original house in the Dallas
Oh,
area.
wow.
So, we rented this house the whole time we were gone to Atlanta to one renter. We were so lucky.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that was enough to pay the mortgage. We were like,
Sure.
"Okay, just cover the mortgage at least, and we're good." And, yeah, that's when I met you, was in Atlanta.
Yeah. Matter of fact, when I met you, you were carrying one of said kids.
Yes.
And I'm like, how is she? And because you performed that night, I'm like, I know she tired. You gave
I
a hell of a
did.
show, but you got out that show, you helped me, you was like, I am so tired. I'm like, how does she do this? So I usually go further down the road to ask this question, especially to when I interview voice actors who are parents, especially my moms. How do you do it? Because you were up there for at least 45 minutes an hour.
I know.
And I think you were almost at term.
I
Um,
was.
yeah, because you was like,
So I
he's
was about to
coming
stop.
any minute. And I'm like, how are you on stage knowing you props to you. So
You were like, "She's gonna deliver on stage?
I'm telling you,
The
because
show."
you couldn't tell because you gave a great performance, but because when you got off, now I remember you had I think the dress was like a red sequin dress,
Mhm.
and you gave me a hug, and I'm like, she's like, not too hard because he may be coming like tonight. I'm like, what? What are you doing up there? When you should be laying somewhere like getting ready and breathing. Or what are you like? Nah, I'm good. I'm like, you are not good.
No,
But
I know. Oh my gosh, yes. And I remember, like, I asked a question on stage, and it was some random question, and you got the answer right. That's how you got the CD.
that's right.
Yes! And you were the only person. I was like, "Oh my god, he got
And
it right."
I think it was a musical question. I don't remember what the question was,
Corinne
but
Bell Corinne Bailey Rae was the answer.
oh,
I covered one of her songs.
the song you sang. I think you sang, "Girl, Put Your Records On."
Y Something like that. I arranged
You
a song by
Yeah,
Corinne
you
Bailey
you you
Rae.
arranged, and I was like, "That's Corinne Bailey Rae." And he was like, "Oh my god, how'd you know that?" I'm like, "'Cause I know music. Give me my CD." Thank you. Yeah,
That's how we met, isn't that?
that
I think that's
that
how we met.
yeah,
After
because
that,
we
you and
we
I hung
had
out.
we had talked online, but we had not yet met in person.
Yeah.
So, it was at that VO Atlanta that, we met,
That
and,
is cool.
I was like, "Yeah, she's a cool chick. I like her. She
Aw.
alright with me."
And Danielle was with you, right?
She was not yet.
She wasn't? Okay, she came to the next one then after that.
Yeah, she came a few VO Atlantas down the road. I was
Oh.
I was a solo man at that one,
Oh, I see. Okay.
still single and searching.
Aw.
'Cause that was like 20 maybe 14 or 15.
Yeah, it had to have been 14, 15.
Because how old is he now?
If it was 2014, well, if I was pregnant with Sammy, it would have
Mhm.
been 2016.
So 16. So since you brought her up, here's the thing about that. We reconnected that same year.
Mhm.
You met her the next year, and then the next time you saw her again,
Yes.
we were married. So, because VO Atlanta was in March, she reached out to me after she had gotten her divorce, and we were just chatting and chilling as friends. That was in, like, May or June.
Mhm.
Um, and then we, reconnected and started dating. By the time we came back to VO Atlanta in 17, we were, going strong, and then in 18 we got married. So you missed her, and then you met her, and then the rest is history. So
Hashtag
yeah.
couple goals, okay? That's you guys.
Man, everybody says that. I'm like, we the silliest people that you ever want to. Why y'all want to be like us? We crazy. We ain't got it. Oh, we crazy. Y'all don't we go find somebody else to emulate. Y'all don't want to do this. You really don't.
Oh, but you guys are sweet. She is so
Yeah.
nice.
She she treats me good and she feeds me well. So I'll go with that. But
Oh,
but yeah, before we get way off the rails. But how do you balance being, and now with two, how do you balance being a mommy, wife, singer, on screen, VO in a partridge in a pear tree? I did an interview with Gabe Kunda, and he was like, "Man, work-life balance is a scam." So, what's your take on work-life balance?
it really is a scam. I'm trying to work on work-life harmony. I call it harmony
That's
because
the new thing. I heard that
yeah,
too, work-life
yeah,
harmony.
harmony. Um, I a couple of years ago, maybe a few years ago, I would say, like during it was pandemic-ish
Yeah.
times. It still is, right? It's things are still going
I
on, but
mean, yeah.
right. Um, but I made a commitment to myself and just said, you know what? This was right. We were coming out of things, and every voiceover talent of color, especially, we started to get a lot more opportunities
Oh, believe it.
than usual. The producers were really looking for people, and it um, it was one of those things where I think after that happened, I just realized I'm like, you know what? I really need to. I need to make a decision. I need to be there for my children. I need to, like, when I pick them up, not go straight back to work until 6 o'clock PM, and then take a break, um, then do their homework, then go right back to the studio.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Um, I had to make a conscious decision a couple of years ago to say, "Okay, I'm going to, um, be there for them." Um, I noticed my daughter's grades were dropping. My son was just needing us to be there for him.
Sure.
And I think during that pandemic time, the kids were really affected. Um, you know, I know psychologists were backed up for, like, at least a year and a half to get an appointment, but I just had to take things in my own hands and just be like, "I need to be there for them, and I need to be present and accounted for. I need to be able to counsel them." Um, because when you're taken away from a social life as a child, that can
Yeah.
really affect you.
Especially
Um
for children because, they're in school, they're playing with their buddies, they're, you know, horsing around, and then to now be like, "You can't do that." It's one thing as adults, we when we see our friends, is maybe once a week or once a month. "Hey, how you doing?" You have some drinks, you have some dinner, and we may go a month or a year without seeing, folks that we hang with, but they see each other every single day.
Mhm,
And now to have that just snatched away, they're like, "Well, what do we do?"
mhm,
So yeah, it's I know it was hard, especially for the little ones to
mhm.
adjust to that. We it's okay for us. Maybe
Yeah.
some people be like, "Well, I'm glad I don't have to see them." But, kids yeah, kids is a little different
Different.
because, they say between kids start to at least shape an identity between 2nd and 6th grade.
Mhm.
So in that window where interaction is important, um, you're finding maybe your first best friend in between that time. So now you've developed and cultivated these relationships, and you can't go to your buddy's house and play ball or play Nintendo or Sega or whichever.
Yeah.
I'm dating myself because y'all don't play that now. I'm sorry, kids. Xbox and PlayStation and
The Switch?
Switch, thank you. See,
Switch,
you can tell I don't have kids because I went 35 years ago to a console that does not exist anymore. Google it, young people.
right?
Sega Genesis. It's great. It was really great for me. I appreciate that. Moving on. But yeah, they interact so much, and then to have that taken away, I
Yeah.
can't imagine as a kid, we didn't have any pandemics or epidemics. For us, it may have been what measles or something,
Yeah.
but they couldn't, touch and
Yeah.
give noogies or whatever.
Right.
How did you um do your best to console them and say, look, this we're gonna get through this thing. You'll be able to see your buddies again and play or hang with your girls and have sleepovers or whatever. Like what was that like? And then having to speaking again of this harmony. So your mom had is on more now than the VO had or the on-screen had. Like, how were you able to just keep it all together, for their sake?
For them, I think being able to work from home is a blessing, right, for all VO talent. Um, because we were already home, we were already set up, right, during the
Yeah.
pandemic, so we didn't have to really worry too much about it, and I just upgraded my studio right before everything
Ah,
shut down, and I was like, "Oh, thank God."
right.
Um, but, oh my gosh, I just, remember scrambling, like, always answering emails. I think my brain was just going crazy because the kids were home. Kids
Mhm.
were, like, doing online school, and I was just like, "Oh my god, this is too much."
Too
Sometimes
much.
you had to tap out, and my husband works from home too, so I was really lucky in that, he was just downstairs, and we had to coordinate if he had a call and I had a recording session, who's gonna be able to handle the kids. But, I started, when did the pandemic? 2020?
Yeah, right around March of 2020 is when things started to shut down.
Yeah. I started my kids in, voiceover. I really started working with Sammy in, voiceover, just reading stuff, and, he started auditioning for my agents. Rania was I was doing more voiceover with them. I was actually kind of working with them and just using that as an outlet to work with their emotions
Mhm.
and, be able to get them to express their feelings more through acting,
Yeah.
um, and not always having to be like, "How do you feel? What's going on?" So I tried to distract them by doing stuff like that or take them out to a park so they could feel like they're socializing. Um, but it was such a tough time. I don't wanna revisit that, and my kids are
Oh,
not online school kids. They are not homeschool kids.
right.
That's for sure. We figured that part out during the pandemic.
Man, y'all ain't cut out for this.
No,
No, you
and
gotta
we're
be
not
in
cut out to
some
be yeah, exactly. We're not
you
cut out
gotta be in the schoolhouse, in somebody's classroom. Yeah, this is not for
right,
y'all.
right. But yeah, I think Gabe is right in that it is a scam. There is no work-life balance. It's really hard. My marriage, it's hard to, like, be a good wife and, be a great mom and be there for everybody and manage the kids, like, I'm managing their careers too, managing my own.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. There's so many
It's
moms who come to me and ask, like, "How do I get my kids into voiceover?" I'm like, "Question, how busy are you in your career?"
You sure you wanna take on this task, or how much time you got?
This was an accident for me. It wasn't like, "I wanna get my kids into voiceover. They're gonna be voiceover talent." It was sort of like, "Hey, does Ronnie wanna audition for this?" And I was like,
sure, let me direct her, you know? Um, hey, we have a spot for, somebody Sammy's age, and they're looking for a Middle Eastern child or, Pakistani, Indian background, whatever. I'm like, "Okay." I mean, they were really actively auditioning during the
Yeah.
pandemic. So that was, like, a good way to kind of, like, distract, I think.
Especially if they book something and then they hear themselves and it's like, "That's me?" Like, "Yeah, honey, that's
Yeah.
you. Wanna
Yeah,
do
it was
some
a really
more?"
good yeah, it was
"Okay,
a
I'll do some
confidence
more."
boost. It
Yeah.
really was a confidence boost for them, and I think, even if you're voiceover talent and your kids aren't in voiceover, I think there's so much that can be attained from it, just public speaking in general, being
Mhm.
comfortable working with, written word, written copy, being able to improvise from written copy, when you're doing animated stuff,
Sure.
animated auditions. So, I don't know, there's so much that can be learned, and it's such an it you know, it's such a, um, I would say, like, even though it's an intimate platform, you don't realize that how widespread the effect is because
Yeah.
it's going out into the
Plus,
world.
I would think that, it gives mother and daughter, son and mom a chance to connect as well.
Yeah,
Brings you guys closer
yeah,
because now I'm doing what mommy's doing, and maybe not full time like you are, but
yeah.
every now and then, hey, I got something for you, buddy. Okay, or you tell your daughter, hey, they're looking for this real cool chick. Think you can do it? I can give it a shot. And then all of a sudden, she
Yeah,
knocks a couple gigs out. He knocks a couple gigs out, and it's like we got a VO house up in this piece. And this was not
right?
like you said, it wasn't intentional, but
Yeah,
it happened to work out
yeah,
and it gives them a sense of pride and now they're being more responsible with hey like say one of his friends wants to hang out. Well, I got a session in a half hour. Can I get back to you? Not that he's getting a big head, but it gives them responsibility and they now can understand when they want to do something and it's like, well, mommy's gonna be busy for an hour. Now they get it because they may have more sessions than you that week. Like
right?
mama ain't booked nothing, but my kids is eating good.
Right? Right, we're dealing with, this year's our first year with all of us dealing with residuals,
Oh
um,
wow.
before
That
and
should be fun.
I know, so now it's like, "Oh god," now you gotta, deal with payouts for the 2 kids now, so,
Yeah.
in addition to my stuff, so it's like, "Oh, yeah, that's right, we got" that's
What's
another
a
thing.
residual? Well, you remember that commercial you did? Yeah, well, they're gonna keep paying you until they don't.
Right,
You want
right.
that new, Nintendo? You're gonna buy it yourself
Yep, exactly.
because I saw your residual check, and it's looking pretty good, kid. Let me
They
hold
pay
some.
taxes like an adult. They
That's
pay taxes
wild.
like an adult. I mean, it's crazy, and it's so funny 'cause my Rania, my oldest, she said to one of her friends that she pays taxes, and her friend didn't believe her. She was like, "I
She's like
pay Uncle Sam." She doesn't know what she's saying, like, this is all coming from me, right?
yeah, she's heard you, and her friend's like, "You do have an uncle named I thought Sam was your brother."
Yeah, right?
No, the Uncle Sam. We gotta give him his cut.
Right? She's like, "I pay taxes," and they don't believe that she has a job and all this stuff, and I'm like, "Rania, just, it's okay." That, kinda breeds jealousy. Let's not
Yeah.
really,
But
let's
they
be
don't see it
confident
that way.
about it. Yeah, they don't see
It's an accomplishment for them, and
yeah.
they're wanting to tell their friends, "Hey, look at this cool thing I'm doing." Now,
Mhm.
the kids on the other end may take it that way, but that's on them to
Right.
interpret.
Right.
It's not like she's bragging. She's happy and one. How many 7 to 10-year-olds out here paying taxes?
Right?
So it's like, what do you? I thought you had to be a grown up to pay taxes. Well, when you work, they take out taxes, and I have to pay a commission to an agent, and the kids are looking at her like, can we just play now? Like you sound like a grown up, and I don't like it. I don't like it.
Right. Yeah. So, that's another thing, like, we're starting to go back into, like I'm in mommy mode, but momager mode too, right? So, it's like, um
Ranya's really focusing on state tests right now. So
Yeah.
she has auditions, and I have to be mindful too about pulling her away from academics. It's always number one for me, like school is always number one. In fact, like when it comes to sessions, I always push to have sessions towards the end of the school day or after school, usually
Mhm.
after school, um, because that's really important to me. And I want it to be focused for them because I told them, I'm like, if you want to keep doing this, we'll do this as long as you're having fun. When
Yeah.
you stop having fun, I'm done because this is a lot of work for mom, you know?
Right.
Um, but, I'm happy that they're happy and that's what I think that's what really matters in the end, right?
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
And it is, again, you're in again, I say this, you're in a unique position once again, where not only are you um having the opportunity to work with your kids, but they get to see examples of what good work ethic and hard work can bring.
Mhm.
And speaking of residual, it's a residual effect because they see that, hey, if you find something you love and you do it, the rewards will come. I think oftentimes we get people that are always asking us about voiceover. Yeah, I want to do so and so I can make a lot of money. I'm like, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
Yes, you can make a lot of money, but there are steps that you have to do in order to get that. You don't just wake up and like, yeah, I just got a $10,000 gig. That doesn't happen. It may happen every once in a while,
Right.
but it doesn't happen that way. And I think, by you leading the way for them to show that, yeah, I got up this morning at 8 o'clock and I didn't leave the booth till 6. And in between then I had 9 sessions, like
Right.
including 4 every 15 minutes. Something that they're seeing the work happen. So they now understand because there are some days we get up and we look at the mic like this and
Right.
you go,
It's not
hey,
happening today. I'm not
I'm not
inspired.
I'm not feeling you today. I'm really not, but I know that, if I don't work, I don't eat,
Right.
and okay, you hit that button, "Coming up next," and you put that face on, and they're like, "Alright, great session, now, until next time," as soon as you hit the button, you're like,
Right.
"Anybody got any wine? Anyone?
There's always a moment, right?
Is
I
it too
mean,
early?"
put your actor hat on,
Yeah, it
put
is.
on that show.
So I wanna, talk to you about, something you mentioned earlier,
Mhm.
when we were talking about, um, pandemic, but I wanna talk more post-pandemic. We were saying that a lot of people of color like you and I were getting um, loads of opportunities. Um, and I don't really know, and this is where I guess I'll be educated. Um, Folks like yourself who have um, a background that is not traditional for the type of work we do. Um, People of color, black, African American, Latinos, Middle Eastern, Asian, you know, there has been an influx to where we are getting opportunities,
Mhm.
which is a good thing.
Right.
Um,
Because of
I-
George Floyd, because of
yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah. We
of
definitely will not
those things.
um, say otherwise. It's exactly why.
Mhm.
But speaking from, I know that I have friends from the Middle East that are Pakistani, Indian, and traditionally that culture, uh, this is not the career path most of you take.
Right.
How was that um, received by the rest of your family? And just when you tell friends or when you start to tell them that, hey, I do this, and it's like, say what now? So,
Yeah. So, you know, all the years growing up, we my parents were well, I'm first generation Pakistani,
mhm,
South Asian in our family. And um growing up as like that little Cocoa Puff in a bowl of milk. You know?
Oh, I get it.
White bread Indiana.
I get
Um,
it.
right? You develop a thick, tough skin.
Mhm.
Um, I was not chosen for a lot of things. Musically speaking, I was fine. Okay, musically speaking, nobody could deny um, the musicianship and work ethic, the talent that my brothers and sisters and I had growing up and really working hard.
Sure.
So music is a different animal, I think, when it comes to performance. In a lot of aspects, but in certain aspects, no. Um, when I was auditioning for plays in high school, I didn't get chosen for a lot of things. I was always the chorus girl.
Mm,
Always like a smaller role, always playing you know, um, a supporting role
gotcha.
or not a role at all, you know. Just a part of the background. Um and that was tough to take because we had racism in our school growing up. It wasn't outward, but you could tell there were biases
Oh,
growing
yeah.
up. Um but you know, part of me was like, I'm confident in my talent. I'm confident in the work that I put in. I don't need to compare myself to others. That will, you know, the business of performance in general, it doesn't matter what genre. You wanna do voiceover, you wanna do opera, you wanna do, theater, on camera, whatever. The medium doesn't matter. If the work ethic is there, there's no denying, you know?
Amen.
I I'm very confident in my work, um, and I'm not the kind that chases. I don't chase work.
Right.
I let work come to me because that work that comes to me is for me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I put my heart and soul in my work, and it's out there in in the internet verse. um, you know, in and it speaks for itself. It's there. If you want to hire me, great. If you don't, oh well. you know, um, it's
Yeah.
not it's not for me if it didn't come to me. Um, and I feel like a lot of the hardships that I've had throughout my career in all disciplines have made me a better person, a stronger person. Have developed my character. Um, and it doesn't matter what art I'm doing as long as I'm producing art.
There you
Uh,
go.
you know what I mean? And I do miss music, I really do. But since the pandemic, it was really difficult to kind of get back in the swing of live performance. If anything, I probably am ready to record some more stuff, maybe another album.
Ooh.
But now the kids are older, I can start focusing on the stuff Nas wants and has
Hey,
wanted
now,
to do,
that's what I'm talking
right?
about. You just
Um,
let me know when the new CD drop, because I'll be picking that bad boy up.
yeah, yeah, but we have gotten opportunities, I feel. Um, you know, the funny thing is, like, we're still having issues, I feel, with, um, the how do I say? Like, if the breakdown says Asian, you would think that South Asian is included in that.
Yeah, and I already know where you're going. It's sometimes these castings and the specs, the descriptions of what they're asking for, you can tell that sometimes whoever put this together really doesn't know what they're looking for. But
Mm,
because they've hired folks in the past and they kind of put everybody in this box. I'll give you an example. When I get castings and they're looking for an African American male between 35 to 50, um, and then they want a voice like, and then they'll give five actors who sound nothing like each other.
Right.
So I'm like, so okay, you want this guy's voice, but it's kind of up here. Okay, you want this guy's voice, but he's way down here. What do you want? And they don't really know how to classify us because they see this, but they don't hear this. Do you find that being um South Asian that there are more obstacles because um the stereotypes that come along with it? Um and the caricatures that have been portrayed over the years, like how do you fight against that and say, look, yes, I can put on an accent because it's a part of me, but that's not who I am.
Right.
I can speak just as clear English as anybody else. Now if the role specifically asks for that, yeah, I can do it, but don't just assume that we all have to sound that way to get work.
Right. Right. It's we're making progress, like little,
Yeah, yeah,
really small steps. At least we're making some progress. I mean, it took this long. Like
straight up.
over I've been performing like in general professionally for over 25 years, maybe 27 years. Um and we're making this much progress on the needle and it just started a few years ago. That's eye
Right.
opening. That's eye opening. I mean, and it's scary to know that it took that long. And now I don't, we see the opportunities, but right, like you're saying, I was actually looking at some of the recent things that I've been doing because I thought, okay, he might ask me some questions. I got to remember what I'm working on recently and like what I've been doing. While I appreciate casting opening up these doors for us, I don't always have to play my ethnicity.
Yes.
Right? I grew up in Southern Indiana. Everybody talked like this, okay?
That's right.
Um, Everybody talks like that, but I will never get cast for that role because when you hear Nazia Chaudhry as my slate and I start talking like this, you don't believe it. But that is really I grew up there, right?
Isn't that
I
ironic though?
I grew up there.
Because the irony of that, they say we want authentic voices. You grew up in the Midwest, and then you give them a Midwest accent, and they're like, but her last name's Chaudhry, Tyrus. That's an Indian girl or something,
Very.
ain't it?
I
She
like
can't do
Chaudhry.
that. Like, first of all, I'm Pakistani. And second, I grew up in the Midwest and I can do this if you just close your eyes and open these two things, which is the most
Right,
important,
right.
you'll get what you want.
Right.
But
I've always considered, since I was 5 years old, I considered changing my name. I remember coming home from kindergarten and I came home and I was crying. I told my mom, I said, "Mom, I wanna change my name. That's it. I wanna change my name." She's like, "Why? We gave you this name and blah, blah, blah." There's this whole, like, thing. And I was
sure.
like, "Everybody's making fun of me at school, Mom. Everybody." And I seriously considered it. She's like, "Fine, we can go change it." And I was like, "No, that's fine. You know what, Mom? You gave me this name, whatever." And it's followed me. I've seen tons of friends over these years change their name, completely
Mm,
change their name for a stage name, and they've booked work. And I keep thinking, like, if they hear my name, is that why? Or do they expect if they look at my name, do they expect me to have an accent and then they just skip my audition and don't even listen to it? You
yeah.
start to wonder things, but then, like, it's kinda like, you know, you get out of your head after that. Um, we've been doing this for so long, right? You just kind of like audition go,
Yeah.
you know?
Because I remember a time when I would submit for stuff, and even on my websites, I wouldn't include my social media because I didn't want them to see me.
Mhm.
I figured if you heard what I sound like and you can hear I can do the work, what I look like did not matter. And a lot of black VO would not we wouldn't post ourselves often or have ourselves in social media or or we have a social media page, but not connected to the VO work because of someone like, "So you were the person we hired for that? Huh." And either that's a good "huh" or that's a, "Huh, we didn't know you were." Well,
Right.
guess what?
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise. So,
We here.
yeah, we are Santa, it's me. So but over the years, I got to a point, I'm like, "Look, um, I've been me all my life, and I've looked like this all my life. So you gonna get this. If you like what you hear, again, it should not be about this. It should
Right.
be about this and how it makes you feel.
Right.
Now, I will say where it does count to look like this, if you're wanting an authentic sound,
Right.
then yes,
Totally.
this is very important.
Right.
But if it's something that's generic where when I look like does not matter, then it shouldn't. But
Yeah.
if you're producing something and they say, well, we want um, this is going to be in an suburban or urban setting. We want natural, authentic black and brown people, then yeah, you come
Yeah.
holler at us. But if it's
Right.
something that's not that, we can do anything just like those other folks can do.
Right.
We
We're
just need
American. We're
hello.
American. Doesn't matter what our ethnicity or our background is, we are American. And this is, this is voiceover, voice acting. And, I know there are two sides to this because people are like, oh, but it has to be authentic. Yes, I appreciate that. But for how many years have we been portrayed by another ethnicity?
Ooh, come on, tell it, Nas.
I'm not gonna I'm not
Come
gonna
on,
complain about
come
the work
on,
that I'm getting, right?
come on, tell it, Nas.
But it's
Mm-mm.
there.
I
There's
wish I
this.
had my mug in here because you got tea and I'm thirsty. Come on, tell it, mama. You right though. You are absolutely right.
Right. So, I mean, does my character always have to have an accent? I actually appreciate it when I get approached and then I ask, "So, do you want my authentic voice?" "Yes, of course we want your." This was a client I had called me for an international job for a couple commercials. And when I hear international, usually that indicates we want you to
They
use
want the accent.
an accent.
Yeah,
We'd like a British Indian accent. We'd like a, you know, something we can't place. I do specialize in accents, so that's not the only accent I can do.
sure.
Um, so I said, okay, sure. So before the session, I was like, so would you like an accent or would you like my authentic voice? And they kind of looked perplexed, like, we want your voice. Like, we want you. How are you speaking right now? That's what we want. And I was like, "Oh, okay." But I just figured because it said international, I just wanted to clarify before I started speaking in an accent.
Yeah,
And then you're just like, wait a minute, it's not what we want.
because we're used to that.
Yeah.
So we come into the job like, all right, how do y'all want me to sound? And I always tell this story about this company I did some work for internationally, and I'm speaking just like this, and he's like, we wanted to be more black, and I'm like, huh?
You were like, hold on, wait a minute. This doesn't come off,
Yeah,
doesn't come
Clorox
off.
can't remove this. I mean, do you want like this kind of black? Or and
Like, you
and
want
it
this?
got
What do
to
you
a
want?
point I started messing with him like, well, what kind of black you want? And what he was trying to say, and I just posted something on Facebook about this. He wanted something that was more grittier. Um,
Okay, then say gritty.
th- that's all. Well, baby, we ain't got that much time to talk about it on this show. This will be a
Okay.
3-hour show.
Right.
But yeah, and I'm like, look, if you want me to sound a certain way, just ask, be descriptive, but damn, don't say be more black. If I get any darker, then you know what? We gonna keep it pushing. But yeah, to all that what you just said.
Mhm.
Um, let's move on because we could make this a whole thing and they be
That
like,
could be a
man,
whole
they
show.
gonna talk about something fun. We gonna have a little fun before we wrap up. Good
Okay.
grief. Come on,
We're
Trey,
too
have some fun.
serious.
All
We're
right.
too serious.
So How is it being and I can say I'm a little jealous. I
Mhm.
do VO. I do a lot of VO as we do, but you get to sing and do VO. I don't get to sing and do VO. So what is that like to go into a session and you go from speaking voice and all of a sudden you sing and birds are landing on your shoulder and it's just a beautiful thing. Like what how was that production? Because I've never been involved in, I've done VO, I've done video games, I've done narration where you're in the booth, standing or sitting, and the guy in the controller, hey, that's great. Give us another take. But then for you to go from speaking to singing, like, what's that like?
That's fun. That's fun. I think it depends on your passion and your love for it. I just love music. I mean, it was my first, my first gig,
Yeah,
really.
and you get to incorporate both at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, so a singing cartoon, would you say it's more or less stressful than just a speaking role?
You know, I think it's more stressful in the fact that you wanna
Hmm,
maintain voice while you're singing and maintain character while you're singing too,
true.
and not break in the middle of singing necessarily depending on depends on the range that they have written for you,
Yeah.
and sometimes on the fly, you gotta change stuff, but how frustrating is it that I'm on a singing show right now for Disney,
Ah.
and my character does not sing.
Oh, wow.
How do you like them apples?
Do you
That's
kinda
a
nudge him like,
torture.
I could if you I could you sure? Because I could put, just a little boop boop boop, something I could, you're like, "No, we're
Nudging.
good. We love
I
your voice as
know.
is."
I
Like,
know. One of the scenes is, like, I'm talking about what's going on stage, this singer is singing, and I'm like, "I wonder who's singing. I wonder who plays
like
that character."
like, "Who's that? Hey, guys, who does that? Because I could I could
I did drop a little hint. Um, we are on season 2 now, so they were
Oh,
like,
good.
they did say like, "Oh," I said, I'm really disappointed. I love being on the show and all this stuff." And I'm like, "But my character doesn't sing, and I'm a singer. Did you guys know I was singing?" They were like, "Not yet." They both looked at each other and was like, "She doesn't sing
Oh.
yet." And I'm like, "Are you dragging me along? Is
You
this
know what you
true?"
could do? I would just walk down the hall one day and just start belting out tunes. They're like, "Who's that?" "Oh, I'm sorry. I had a song in my head and I just had to get it out." And you just out there, they're like, "Whoa." All of a sudden, "Hey, we got this part because we heard you in the hall."
Right?
And then you're like, "Well, I mean, I guess I could." Then you just go kill it and like, "Told y'all."
Right? The girl with the funny name who nobody could pronounce ever,
Yeah.
like, "Oh,
Nazia
she can
it's
sing?"
not Nazia. Nazia is no, it's not.
Right?
It's
If
not
I
anymore.
could if I could go back in time, like, I would I would be singing on Broadway. Because when I was in DC, I was auditioning, I was taking the look at you again, getting those memories. I took the Chinatown to Chinatown bus from
Oh,
DC
you took the
from
China
H Street
bus.
from H Street.
Yeah.
It smelled so bad, but I went to audition for Broadway in New York, and taking that $35 bus
You know it.
round trip. So the ultimate goal, if I could be like a singing character on a Disney series or an animated film, that would be amazing. Doesn't matter who, it could be Pixar, Disney, whoever, DreamWorks, putting it out there. Um,
I just wanna play the frog. Can I just
right?
sit there and play the frog? Like, "She
Doesn't matter
sure can
who, just
sing." Yeah, you know,
character.
I would love to be in a
Make them
Disney,
sexy.
Pixar, something or rather. I don't care if I have one line like, "Yep, that's him," and it's like, "Cut," and like, "Yeah, you gotta wait for it. Wait, okay, here it goes. Yep, that's him." That's my line.
That's
That
my
was
dream.
me. I
That's
made
a
it to
dream.
a Disney movie. Thank
Hey,
you
you
so
know what?
much.
You're gonna get the residuals anyway. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if
Hey,
it's a one
now,
little
that
short
part
line,
right there, it's a coming. Um,
right?
shoot, that'd be great. So, what would you say uh to the next generation
Mhm.
of uh South Asian actors and voice actors who look at you as inspiration and say, I was teased a lot for my name or how I sounded. Or let's say you have an individual who their accent is very heavy. Just naturally, like when you said you asked them, "Do you want my natural speaking voice?" Which is not accented, but you can put the accent on. Let's flip it and let's say that they have a very naturally heavy accent, and they're thinking because I asked this because I had a good friend of mine, and actually one of my VO students too, back when I was coaching a lot, in a very deep uh regionalized accent. Well, he's from DC, so you know how folks in DC
Right.
have an accent. Like, yeah, man, so, and he's like, yeah, I don't think I want to keep my accent. And I'm like, why would you want to? No, that is
Mhm.
a part of you,
Yeah.
and that one day is going to be beneficial to you.
Mhm.
um but to someone from your culture that comes to you and says, hey, I am teased because of my accent. I want to get rid of it, but I also want to do VO. Like, what would you say to them to encourage them, uh, to not lose it and to keep on and to pursue the type of work that you're doing?
Mhm. I would just say be yourself. I mean, there's no other person that can sound like you but you, you
Right.
know? And, it's not about your voice necessarily, it's about all your experiences. What do you bring to the table? What were you dealing with, as a young child, and how has that influenced you now? What do you do for work currently? Um, and how does that work environment influence, who you are today? Those things are a part of you. That's things you can't reproduce from somebody else's perspective, right?
Mhm.
So I think what matters more so than trying to change your accent, yes, I feel like it's important to learn how to um, maybe do an American accent or to lessen your accent. What I do hear a lot from producers is um, they want to hear something that's either, like, kind of watered down. If you know how to water down your accent a little bit, do different
Mhm.
variations of your current voice, um, that is very sought after. Um, but changing who you are, changing your voice just to try to work doesn't always necessarily work you know, because of authenticity. That's
Sure.
what people want. Um, and sometimes I say to the client, do you want me to dial it up? Do you want me to dial it down? Do you want a harder accent? Do you want it more British? Do you want less British, more accent? Do you want no British, straight up accent? Like, what do you want? Be able to do that with whatever you're learning, like whatever accent that you attempt
Mhm.
or whatever voice that you try to emulate. Try to be able to dial it up and dial it down. Um, I think that type of control, on your voice is super important, um, because when you're in session, I think that's what you're gonna be asked for the most, if you do have an accent,
Mhm.
you know? Like you're saying, like, "Can you sound more like this? Can you" you know what I mean? And a lot of times what I hear or the way I translate it to them, to producer or director,
Yeah.
you want me to dial it up? Do you want it a harder accent? Do you want less? And usually it's like, we want less, we wanna be able to understand and maybe less harsh. So, being able to dial up and dial down, I think, with accented work is very important, especially when it comes to authentic voices. And there's work for you. I mean, there's e-learning work that needs, accent accent-driven, voices. Um, of course, authenticity in animation too.
which uh, I feel is starting to come into play. But I think what's interesting to me, like I was mentioning before, in order to distinguish this character on screen, the color can be brown, right?
Yeah.
Can be in South Asian color, which we come in all colors. We're not just this
True.
color, and we can wear hijab too, not just Arabic voices, right?
Right.
We are Muslim. Muslims come in all different variations of color, so there are biases and stereotypes in that sense.
Oh, yeah.
But because my character is of color on screen, why do I have to have an accent? Um, and some I there's a show on Nicktoons that just released called The Twisted Timeline of Sammy and Raj that I'm in. I play Priyanka. Um, and when I auditioned for it, I gave an accented read and I gave my authentic voice. And when we got in the studio, the same thing happened where it was like, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I had to ask, like, so what direction are you going in? Are we
Yeah.
doing an accent or are we not? Um, so I think um, as a person of color who has an accent, to talk to them, it's okay. It's okay to have what you have. And it's not I don't want you to change who you are.
Right.
Learn other accents, yes, but stay true to who you are. Your name is your given name. Shorten it for people. Naz. I mean, I shorten it, but Nazia Chaudhry is my full name, with or without an accent,
That's right.
right? So
Yeah.
I say
Well,
keep on going. Like put in the work. Put in the work. It's the work will speak for itself. You know.
did y'all hear that?
Did you hear
Listen
it?
to the woman. All right. I have kept you longer than the law allows. So I am going to end it with what I end with all of my guests. Um and this is I like to do this, well, A, because it's the name of the show. It's called Take Time Out with Tre Mosley, which you have done apparently a long time. Um
Mm,
when the cameras are off, the mics have been put away, and you are not in the booth. Um even though mommy duties never stop, but let's just
right.
say they've toned down and it's just you. How does the great Nas take time out for herself?
Let's see. Lately, it's been I don't want to hear anything, anybody. I don't wanna hear anybody say anything.
Okay.
Um, I wanna just read. My husband, he likes to listen to or he likes to watch Star Trek or whatever before bed, and I'm like, "Take that stuff out
Oh,
there.
she
Take
kicked
that
him
stuff
out.
out
Now
there."
you
Yeah,
you
it's
got to
like
go.
I was like, "I don't wanna hear anything." I think because that's why I asked you, do I need to wear my headphones during the
Yeah.
interview because, uh, it it kind of, like, gets in the way. It makes me feel like I'm not talking to you. I feel like I'm in the booth taking direction or something.
Yeah.
Um, so there's that. I think a lot of self-care because I don't think a lot of people realize how, physically intense our job can be,
Oh, yeah.
especially with animated projects.
Mhm.
But in general, I mean, we are, working the board. We're, like, constantly, like, emailing, texting. We're always on call, literally.
Yeah.
Um, and I think I take a lot more time for self-care, um, than I used to, and I mean it. Like, I'll have to say, like, "No, I'm cutting things off, and I'll get back to that email. I need an
Right.
hour to myself." Or taking lunch, a full actual lunch, you know? Going outside, stretching, taking in the sun,
Hey,
right?
breathing oxygen in the
Breathing
air. Ooh,
oxygen.
we're outside. No, I get that.
Right? So I think self-care has been a part of my regimen more recently, a lot more than usual.
But I think decompressing, we need that time. Creatives need space.
Yes.
It's one thing I have learned. And um, I think in a lot of cases, we have to force that. We have to reinforce that we need a break,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because we are not machines. I'm not a machine. I'm not a robot. Just like Nava says, I'm not a robot.
That's
Um,
right.
and if you haven't joined Nava, you should.
Hey now.
For you out there and listening land,
I'm a part. She talking to
right?
y'all.
Yeah. um, but we're not robots, although sometimes we feel like we are when we're working.
Yes.
As glamorous as people think this job is, there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and we are physically taxed, I think, at the end of the day. Um, but yeah, I think there's that. I want to do more singing, but somehow, some way that feels like work because you're working the mic. You're just, constantly listening to levels. You're really paying attention to tone and
Mm-hmm.
pitch and everything. Um, so although it used to feel like a break and a, fun, now it's starting to feel like work. So I need that. I need to, take a step back from things sometimes, I think, and
Sure.
reflect. Right. So take time out for myself. That's
That's
what I do.
right. I ain't mad at you. Take time
Take
out
time
for
out
yourself.
for Nas, right? For Trey.
Hey, that's
That's what you
right.
gotta do,
I might take some time out for myself today. How
right?
about that? Well, before we go,
Mhm.
how can folks find you out there in the World Wide Web? So they can catch up with you and see all the cool projects and stuff that you are doing.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, how can they reach out and virtually touch you and say, "Hey, I didn't know that was you on that thing." Like, yeah, I'm everywhere. What would I do?
I'm all
So how
over the
can we
place.
find you?
I'm at www.nazvoice.com. That's NAZ voice.com. And you can catch me on Instagram. I'm pretty active there. Nas_voice, because I couldn't get Nas voice. If you hashtag me, hashtag Nas voice, see back there? Hashtag Nas voice.
Ah,
On Google, you can find me that way. I'm on Twitter, or X as we call it. That's Nas voice. I'm at Nas voice on X.
so on there you are, but not on IG. That's
I
terrible.
couldn't get it on
Instagram,
IG,
do better. Do better, Instagram.
right? And I see the person who does have Nas voice, and they're just not active, and I'm like, "Come on, y'all.
So you should reach out to them and say, "Hey, look, so
Can we get this one too?"
let's talk about it. You ain't doing nothing with it. I
Right?
need that." All right. Well, uh, this has been Take Time Out with Tre Mosley. Um, I would like to thank my guest once again, the great Nazia Chaudhry. I said it right.
Yes,
Um,
you did.
for joining me today. And we had some snafus that you guys will never see.
Maybe
The
you could put in
magic of
some of that in
edit.
the you could put some of that in the middle there, like, where
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Be like, I would tell you what happened, but it's none of your business. But thank you all for watching, and
"Don't
we will
blame me,
see.
Trey."
No, it was not her fault. It was not. She was great. It was user error over here.
Okay.
But again, that ain't y'all's business. And on that note, we out of here. Say bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Take Time Out with Tre Mosley podcast, part of the Titan Media Network. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, or wherever you get your podcasts. To see the video version of this, you can find us on YouTube on the Take Time Out with Tre Mosley YouTube page. Thanks for listening, or thanks for watching. Either way, we'll see you next time.